PPIs disrupt your gut health. Science shows why. If you're one of the millions of people on this acid-reducing medication called a PPI, short for proton pump inhibitor, the very reason you're on the medication is what the medication can cause to continue. So, why are you on it? You've got acid reflux. And we kind of equate acid reflux with the stomach acting incorrectly. Well, it must be making too much acid, so let's decrease the acid. Why did Mother Nature, in her brilliance, and trust me, as you get to know the human body more and more, you will understand how brilliant it is. Why is the stomach a bag of acid if that was such a bad idea? So let's jump into all the ways that these medications offset the proper balance of your body and actually create the imbalance that's causing you to have acid reflux and thereby needing to continue taking this PPI. It's a bit circular, I know, but when you break it down, it's not only fascinating, but it opens the door to you getting off these medications potentially and not getting stuck in this catch-22. So when you get on a PPI, of course, it reduces acid, and you know that. And when we eat, two things happen. One, we swallow our saliva, and we do have bacteria in our mouth, and there's also environmental bacteria, so in the food we eat. And it has nothing to do with poor hygiene of your food. They're just in there. So the first stop, you chew, you swallow, it goes down your esophagus into your stomach, which is a bag of acid. And it is so in order to kill these bacteria. So not only are the bacteria in your food now happily multiplying, but so are your oral bacteria. And they found, research shows, and all these studies are attached to the description of this video, that people who take PPIs have more strep in their colon because it got to pass through and it wasn't killed in the stomach per design. So there's other bacteria like, so E. coli is one. We call it C. diff, which is short for Clostridium difficile, which can cause a form of diarrhea in some people that is life-threatening. So those bacteria are also seen to be more elevated in people who take a PPI. And when you get more and more of these bacteria increasing in your colon, you are thereby less resistant to infection. So being on a PPI increases your risk of having infection, which is, of course, dangerous. It also alters what's called bile acids. Now, your liver produces bile, your gallbladder stores the bile, and when you eat a meal that has some fat in it, that bile is secreted into your small intestine. But the balance of, and it's secreted right at the junction of where your stomach empties its contents into the small intestine. So again, Mother Nature in her brilliance realized that the stomach contents were going to be highly acidic. Bile is highly alkaline, so they would kind of balance each other out. And what happens when that acidic environment is not there, again, we have this procreation of bad bacteria. It's not just this continuing story of, okay, bad bacteria, bad, and my diversity in my colon of good bacteria versus bad changes. I'm more likely to get infections, but also you're not absorbing fats the way you should, so you're not absorbing fat in the form of fat-soluble vitamins as well. You also need a number of good bacteria in your small intestine to deconjugate or break down bile acids. So bile is very interesting. It's very well preserved in the human body. The liver manufactures it. As I said, the gallbladder stores it, and then it's secreted, and it works its magic on breaking down fats and absorbing fat-soluble vitamins. And then it is recirculated very, very efficiently. But you need good bacteria to break it open, if you will, such that then it can get recirculated. And when it doesn't, because you don't have enough good bacteria, then we see that propagation of bad bacteria occur all over again. The other thing that happens with PPIs is you're more likely to get SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And that is seen in studies and very validated there. So the pH of the stomach is supposed to be, of course, highly acidic. When you're on the PPI, that pH is raised. And then you are not killing the bad bacteria and they then get into the small intestine and happily procreate, and you're getting bloating, gas, terrible distension, diarrhea, and also malabsorption of key nutrition. So it's the bad bacteria, it's malabsorption, and then the discomfort of bloating and gas. So what's next? The last part of this has to do with your immune system. 70% of your immune system is housed in your gut, and the strength of that immune system to defend you against not just infections, but certain diseases has to do with the integrity of that immune system. And what we've talked about is every step along the way, what the PPI is doing is it's increasing the number of bad bacteria. So you have weakened immunity, you're also more likely to have leaky gut. And the intestine acts as a barrier against bad things escaping. And we don't tend to think about our gut, our intestinal tract, as being outside the body, but the body thinks of it that way. So from your mouth down to your anus, it's one long tube that's outside the body until the body lets the passage of nutrition, food, out into your bloodstream. And with this imbalance of good bacteria, bad bacteria, that protective barrier gets leaky, and then inhospitable organisms are passing outside, toxins are passing outside now into your immune system, and now you have a systemic, meaning throughout your body, wide problem, instead of how the gut is designed, saying, okay, if a bad guy gets in, I'm just sealing those doors and I'm pooping it out, and at least I'm getting rid of it. You know, that's how the design was set up. But as soon as you get that leaky gut, that increased intestinal permeability is what it's known as, now we have inflammation, we have more body-wide problems, more likely to get literally every disease that you don't want to get is associated with inflammation, from heart disease, type 2 diabetes, obesity, dementia, autoimmune diseases, cognitive decline. They're all associated with inflammation, and that goes back to gut health. So the far-reaching effects of being on a PPI are rather astronomical, and that's what the point I wanted to get across. But I'm also not insensitive to the fact that you might be watching this, hopefully you've hung in this long, and you say, listen, this is terrible, but I can't get off my PPI. I've tried it, and I'm miserable with acid reflux. I am not insensitive to that. I've been doing this for 40 years. My team and I, we understand. But a couple things to note. One is that when you have bad reflux, what is happening? Pressure, inappropriate, abnormal pressure is being placed upon that bag, squeezing it and causing the acid to go up into your esophagus. That is by definition acid reflux. Where's the pressure coming from? It's coming from every single imbalance that I just talked about. So it's not a rock and a hard place. You don't have to be stuck. What we can do is systematically address the factors for you that are causing this compression, causing the inflammation, causing the imbalance, and then we can wean, okay? Now, is your gastroenterologist going to do this? No, unlikely. You're going to need to find a clinician like my team in the arena of functional medicine. We call it root cause medicine here, but it's looking at you systemically, looking at all of you and realizing what the root cause is and working on that so the inflammation goes down, the pressure goes down, and then you don't need as much, perhaps none, PPI. It's a process though. It's not swallow this pill and magically you're fine and you can stop the PPI. It's a process, so you have to know that, but is it workable? It's very workable. We also learned recently the PPI association with anxiety, and you can check out that video. But I just want you to know that there is a route out. There is hope to get off these medications and wean yourself down and maybe transition into something that's less bothersome as we're getting to the root cause. But at least knowing the problems so that you have the direction to go in, to realize that it's highly important to not be continuing to take these because the long-term side effects are critical. That's what I want you to know. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel, send it to a friend, and also comment. I love your comments. I answer pretty much every single one that I get, and we'll talk soon.